What's up, everybody? Welcome back to our second and last installment of the month. Last time we spoke about one-on-one connections, and today we'll discuss a little bit about changing the organization. Now, this will not be an abbreviated change management class. If anything, we'll discuss philosophy, trends over the past decade or so, how we can employ lessons learned, and what we can do as individuals to contribute in a positive way. We were going to push this week off to discuss the recent fires and debrief how the squadron reacted, but due to scheduling conflicts, that will likely take place next week, so look out for that hot wash with the commander and DO first week of September. So why change? The quote on the last slide stated that change is constant. I like to think of it like the uneven heating of the Earth's surface, which ultimately causes wind. Changing conditions always come at the organization, so the organization makes changes to adapt, either proactively or reactively. Structure may change due to financial or manning constraints, leading to redistribution of responsibilities. The size of the unit may drive a need for innovative solutions like the creation of transition flight. New leadership brings in new ideas from different places, hopefully applying proven practices. Technology is a huge driver of change, affecting our work efficiency and distribution of manning. Threats, like we see on the slide, drive change, as General McChrystal demonstrated in Team of Teams, adapting to solve the problems presented by Al-Qaeda. I put these examples up here as an introduction to get the point across that there's no such thing as change for change's sake. If people feel that way about a policy, then the reasons are faulty or have not been communicated well. Change is inevitable. Change is constant, which means we can never be comfortable in the status quo. We must always be thinking and working ahead to be in a proactive mindset as opposed to reactionary. Here we're not talking about small changes like PT policy or a new 202 Vol 3. The particular change we're talking about is at the macro level. What many of us have seen and read about the approach to organizational leadership has changed over the years. The top-selling books, whether they be from military leaders and their experiences, business leaders, or academics backing the principles with research, all seem to point in the same direction. This is captured succinctly in the graphic above. I could go on about it, but pause the video and give them a read. Ultimately, an organization strives for productivity. But the big question between these two schools of thought is about level of efficiency and to what end. Simon Sinek in Leaders Eat Last writes a bit about generational impacts on business, how the greatest generation approached work, followed by the boomers, and now how Gen X and millennials are approaching their jobs and leadership. I'll sum it all up real quick without getting political by saying that in the early 20th century there was a different approach to business, which included a sense of responsibility to the consumer as well as employees. Henry Ford said, "A business that makes nothing but money is a poor business." Imagine that coming from a CEO even just a few years ago. Anyway, over that century, American business and organizational leadership, one could argue, went from a relatively benevolent family practice to a greedy approach that disregarded human connection and social obligation. Indeed, he highlights a major point about the very nature of capitalism, which seems to pivot around a seminal event in 1970 where Milton Friedman proclaimed that shareholders owned companies and that companies should strive to make them as much money as possible, so long as it is legal. Hopefully, you can see where that would be problematic. The past few years, though, we've seen a shift. Maybe it's a generational shift. Maybe it's because the Friedman approach has led to too much profiteering and one too many market crashes and bailouts. I don't know. But I do know that the research has demonstrated that things like treating people with loyalty and respect, leading with vision, and building trust throughout an organization yields far better long-term results. So how does this apply to the double deuce? Are we on the side of old or new thinking? Are there positives to be taken from the old ways or new ways that are not necessarily better? What constraints do we have being a military organization that we need to account for? Consider these questions for our Thursday discussion. A quick break. Given the recent fires, I'm going to make a plug for SentrySafe. They offer a wide variety of fire and waterproof safes to protect your most important documents and keepsakes. I have one myself and am looking to upgrade as the family grows. It's nice to have one secure location to grab and go in a hurry or know that they will be protected if you're out on the road. So check them out. How to change. For the double deuce, you can look at it like the flywheel from good to great, or consider us anywhere from steps 4 through 8 on Kotter's 8-step model, which is featured above. The point is we're moving in a definite direction. If you've been tracking the underlying themes of commanders' calls, PDs, and other meetings, you'll see that the vision is for execution of commander's intent through small teams, thus reinforcing the double deuce as a team of teams that is agile because they are empowered at the ground level. We guide, but ultimately unleash the team and individuals to lead and execute. To further this vision, this mindset, we need to read. We hone our craft as pilots through study, but I'll just say it, are generally not as good about honing our leadership. It takes study and practice. Once we learn what these trends and philosophies are, we need to message. Our teams, our peers will throw their effort behind our enthusiasm, so long as we are unified behind a common vision. Our vision in the double deuce is so powerful because it appeals to us on multiple levels, things we can all get behind. We must then act, showing others that we do as we say and really care about them. Finally, feedback is so important. I know, so many surveys, but I hope that you've seen, like with the DEOCS, that the double deuce takes action based on feedback and that people's voices really matter. So what can we do as individuals, as officers, in this shifting, adapting organization? The first is fairly simple. Accept that change is constant. But so long as we're true to our vision, we know what we're working towards. The ground beneath us will change on the journey, but the infinite fight will continue, and it is good because it is right and we are in it together. Secondly, this change in mindset, this change in organization will empower small teams. Embrace it. Take ownership of everything in your shop. You lead the people. You own the process. You are accountable for the results. A big knock on Air Force pilots is that they have no real leadership responsibilities or challenges until 10 to 15 years in their careers. Maybe true in the past, but not in the double deuce. You have an opportunity to be and do so much more on that front compared to your peers in other squadrons, even compared to your senior leaders who grew up under the old system. Maybe that's why the system changed. Those of us who came up under that model wanted to give a better future to those who followed us. Finally, that feedback piece again. Communication is blood. It is life. And it needs to happen regularly and honestly, up, down, laterally, and diagonally. This builds trust, collaboration, and innovation. It makes us stronger. It makes us better. Here we go. Live chat on Thursday the 27th at 10 a.m. Based on what we've covered here, how does this apply to the double deuce? Are we on the side of the old or new thinking? Are there positives to be taken from old ways, or are there aspects of the new ways that are not necessarily better? What constraints do we have based on being a military organization? A last thought. Do you think the new thinking, the direction the double deuce is moving in, is correct? What would you change or do differently? That's all I got for this week. I appreciate you listening. We'll talk to you Thursday. And again, let me know if you have any feedback or questions. like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll talk to you soon. See ya.